Hello, neighbors. This is the Flock family from Seattle, owners at Riviera Resort, and you're listening to My DVC Points.
Parents and the children could have fun together.
Please board quickly and safely. Our monorail will be departing momentarily.
Welcome to the My DVC Points podcast. Join the conversation as DVC members share their stories, personal preferences, and magical memories. Your reservation is confirmed, your fast passes are booked. Pull up on the yellow strap because our journey into the magic of membership is about to begin.
To infinity and beyond.
Now, here's your host and curator of magical stories, Chad Pennycuff.
Welcome home, neighbors, to episode 255 of the My DVC Points podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at DVCResaleMarket.com. And you may think that this is a strange show for us to be talking about tips for new people buying direct, but spoiler alert, one of those tips is to figure out what it is on a cost per point so that you can do a comparison over to the awesome listings at DVCResaleMarket.com. They're the world's leader in DVC resale. Nobody sells more contracts than they do. Nobody has a larger inventory and nobody has a larger selection. We think you owe it to yourself to at least go over there and make an educated decision as to how much more you're going to spend on buying direct over buying resale. That being said and done, we are huge fans of buying direct and we're a huge fans of buying resale. What we're an even bigger fan about is you making an informed decision about what's best for your particular family and your situation. We're going to host the conversations here. We're going to talk about direct. We're going to talk about resale. We're going to talk about all the various different thoughts and opinions that are here in the DVC member community. And at the end of the day, we're happy campers if you make a decision about what's best for your family. We're just here to host the conversations and kind of lead the debates and fights a little bit, so to speak. We're all DVC members. We all get along fairly well, and we all do what genuinely love the product and care for our neighbors. So it's a pretty good time. But DVCResaleMarket.com, let them know you heard about them here on the My DVC Points podcast. And to help me come back in and talk about our 7 tips for first-time buyers of DVC product, I'm going to welcome my good friend, Ron Shamrock, to the show. How you doing tonight, Ron?
Chad, how are you? How are you? I just want to say you made a great point. We love buying direct. We love buying resale. We just love DVC, period. Just call it what it is.
Yeah. We kind of love buying and selling it too. And like flipping around and obsessing over, do we have enough points in the right contract and all of that dirty stuff.
Build the portfolio, right, Chad? Build that portfolio.
Yeah. But today we're reaching out to new people, Ron. So we got to turn down the nerd level a little bit. We'll try. Yeah. We are super fans of this product and we think it's awesome for our families, and it may or may not be right for your families. If it's not right for your family, then we hope you come to the conclusion to not buy in. That would make us happy because it's kind of a sad day when you see somebody posting online that bought in and it wasn't a good fit for them, right?
Right.
We don't like to see that happen. So our whole team here, there's probably 15 people on our volunteer team creating content, some on camera, some off camera. A lot of behind the scenes work goes on to do this. We all are about that mission of helping you make informed decisions and then building community within the DVC member community as well. So, Ron, we've got 7 tips to go over today. Let's come back in and kick this off. And we're also going to talk about the incentives that are out there. And every time a new incentive show drops, we're going to be updating our list and refreshing it with 7 tips. So if you could do us a favor and write your questions or comments down on the show below so that we can come back in and incorporate them into the next incentive drop, because we think this content is really so good and so valuable that you're going to want to do that, and we're going to want to keep it fresh every single time incentives drops, which are about 6 times a year roughly. So I'd like to say quarterly, but we might get a little bit more. They might have like a 2-month one or a 6-week one sometimes. But these dropped on May 30th, and I think the last day to buy is September 11th.
That is correct.
So that being said, our first tip here is if you're a new member, keep in mind it's your life and your money. And we see this with new people in the DVC member community. There is a certain stigmatism that goes along with telling your friends and family members that you bought a timeshare. Although I'm going to argue DVC looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, but it's got an incredible resale market and an incredible rental market. And it is the only timeshare on the planet that can lay claim to the fact that if you're a middle income American family and even a middle income worldwide family, at some point in time, you're going to want to bring your family to Orlando, to the mecca of Disney and Disney World here. It's just a rite of passage. And so many people want to do that. It is the number one world destinations in terms of like tourists, where everybody comes to Orlando at some point in time. They bring their families here. I think you're pretty safe with the DVC product, and the history of our resale market will come back in and show it. Ron, do you have any thoughts here?
Yeah, absolutely. Disney is always going to be on someone's bucket list if they have not done it. I don't care who you are, where you're from. It's just one of those iconic names that if you have the opportunity to, you're going to take that opportunity. So the fact that DVC, it is, and when I talk to people about it, Chad, I say by definition, because you have to call it what it is, if you strip it down to the actual product, it is a timeshare. But then I start explaining the product to these people, and they're like, they tell me unsolicited, they're like, that's not like any timeshare I've ever heard of or seen that 4-hour presentation on to get a couple free tacos when I'm in Cancun or something, Let's just say for anyone contemplating who is new, yes, there is a stigma to timeshares, but don't let that dissuade you, because this timeshare, I have never seen a more flexible product when it comes to vacationing, which is why I love the fact that they call it a vacation club, because really that's exactly what it is. It really is.
Here's a notable difference. When you drive down 192 here in Orlando, which is the main tourist strip out here, there's 50 million people that'll say, we'll give you discount tickets to go to Disney if you'll sit through this 4-hour timeshare pitch. And in Disney's own timeshare, they're like, no. We're flipping the script on that one. We're renting out our parks and we're giving it away free to our members who have bought the timeshare. Right. And that event is called Moonlight Magic, because we don't do business the way those scumbags do. And it's just a completely different product. So I would tell you guys, work through that. I'm a former Dave Ramsey coach, and this is the only timeshare that he will tell you reasonably has a good sales tax. He hates timeshares with a passion, but he will tell you that they are reasonably good. And if you hold on to it long term, you're likely to get some decent value out of it as well.
Absolutely.
Which is pretty high praise from a consumer advocate guy who pounces on timeshares for part of his show, right?
Pounces. You're being kind.
Yeah.
He decimates them.
Yeah.
He literally. Yeah.
So we get some pretty kind words from Dave on that one as well. Let's move on here, Ron. So I think we've covered this first one. And I will say this, I was in my first year of this show. We're about 5 years old now. And I had a very shocking comment from somebody that's right along this point number one. And they were like, Chad, what you do with these member interviews, you normalize the product and you take away the stigmatism. It's like I can come out of the closet of being a Disney timeshare owner with some pride. And I was like, well, I don't want to put timeshare ownership at the same level of cultural torture that some of marginalized communities have been in our society. But yes, we do. We're out, we're loud, we're super fans, and we think it makes sense for our family, and we create content so that you can decide if it makes sense for your family.
Amen.
That's kind of our heartbeat right there. But that being said and done, as much as we say Disney does all of these great things, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors that go on in their marketing.
Chad, you thought a car had a lot of moving parts? Let's start looking at DVC.
Yeah. And the long and short of it is, if your family consistently stays in a Disney Deluxe resort, this is a phenomenal product. If your family consistently stays in a moderate resort, you'll still probably come out okay. If your family consistently stays in a value resort and you are the one that are always waiting for that, triple coupon Tuesday, Thursday, the $99 a night at Pop, probably going to be better off at the $99 at Pop.
Yeah.
Okay? Just on a pure pencil whipping standpoint. But I think the product is different than Pop and it's worth a little bit more money. But you're not far off from those discounted values once the dust settles here. But you will get pencil whipped by the people who come back in and only stay at All-Star Sports when it's triple coupon Thursday, third week in September when nothing's going on here.
Yeah, but realistically, Chad, it's like if we're having a conversation about driving a vehicle and I'm talking about my Chevy Equinox and you're talking about your Mercedes. They're just different.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely different.
They're just different. Yeah.
Yeah, DVC Deluxe resorts really, truly are, they live to that standard. And so, but just know that there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and we're going to get through some of this today. And if you've watched episode 255, mydvcpoints.com/254 for that episode, this one is /255. We just did a show on tips for buying add-ons, which a lot of that applies to this as well. We just divided it up because we had so much content to cover, and it's a slightly different focus for this. We're trying to be more new member friendly, although we are super fans and super geeks. So work with us a little bit here if we're not, right? So the other thing you can trust is when you come to My DVC Points, we are a member community and we value authentic member communication. The sales guides will tell you what they need to tell you to sell you something. Right? If you really want to know how the product works on a practical level, they'll tell you the technical stuff on it. But if you really want to know how it works on a practical level, come into the member community and start asking existing owners. We are the best source of marketing that Disney has ever thought of having, is our word of mouth and our community, because the product is so awesome. And if it's not awesome, we call them out on it.
Exactly.
But we're super fans, so we're generally pretty positive, happy people with this, but call them out when they're smoke and mirrors on this, or if they tell you, yes, you can 7-month into the Grand Cal at Christmas. Yeah, no. Booking any place other than your home resort in Christmas weeks, it's the highest of high demands, like not very likely to happen here.
Yeah, and Chad, while we are super fans, we own the product, we love the product, we advocate for the product on a regular basis because we have a passion for it. It doesn't mean that we're just, how do I say it? We don't just drink the Kool-Aid for the fact of drinking the Kool-Aid. We're giving you real life information, real time information, the good, the bad, the ugly, the outstanding. I mean, there are good and bad points to everything in life. So, and what Chad's saying here, and one of the reasons I was attracted to the My DVC Points community, I will share with you, is because it is the two phrases Chad said to me when I first met him: member driven, member focused. And I have never seen that to not be true. So again, as somewhat of a newer, just been in this game here, this DVC game about 2-3 years.
We're sponsored by resale companies and we're teaching people to buy direct.
In this instance, yeah.
Okay, but it makes sense that if you're going to be looking at direct, to come back in and look at resales like we talked about at the beginning of the show, right?
Exactly.
But that's what you're going to get when you come to us, and you can ask any question as well. We believe in authenticity and we believe in being respectful. It could be the 50 millionth time that they're going to come back in and have the conversation, and we're going to answer it respectfully there.
Without a doubt.
Okay, so that's point number 3 here. Number 4 is a really cool thing. If you are brand new to DVC, there is a program out there called Dream It Forward. And you can get a link and a referral from an existing member, and you will get $500 off your DVC purchase. I have, through the magic of the internet, if you go to mydvcpoints.com/dreamitforward, this link right here, we will pull it up. This is my particular link. I have already used it once. You are limited to 1 referral per person to get $150 dining credit.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to just make it simple and make my link that's out there available. I can refer 1 million people. I'm only going to get the $150 once. So yeah, you can reach out to somebody in the community and ask them, or ask a moderator in our group, and they'll be glad to share your link if you're out there looking, or ask a friend that has it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if there was a way I could share the love with just rotating whose link it uses when you type that, I would. I've actually got an email off to a company now to look at getting that software developed if he doesn't have it, because I'm that committed to helping out the member community with that. So, but here's what it is, and you'll just come back in and you're essentially going to give Disney Vacation Club permission to market to you, and you're going to get $500 off if you buy. That's a pretty sweet deal, right?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I have no problems finding my one person a year. Like, that's going to happen by January, but that's just because I've got a podcast with a mic and a pretty good reach. But this is all about the $500 in your pocket, because they ain't giving it to me more than once. Okay.
Right.
And I get it's a real estate commission law. Like, it's appropriate to buy somebody a meal once for a thank you referral, but it's not when they have a podcast and could send you 10,000 people this year.
Yeah.
I get it. I completely get it. Right. So anyways, that's what's going on there with that $500. And I did help a fellow podcaster get the $500. It went through this year. I got my money and life was good. Ron, life was really good.
Life is very good. The fact that they only do it once, I think that also,
There's legal reasons.
it's ethical, right? They're not just having people shield their product because they're going to get $500 a pop for it.
Yeah,
it's truly
we
a
get
thing.
170. We get $150.
The 150, I should say. My apologies. Yeah, the 150. We could refer 100 people, but we're going to get $150 dining credit, but they'll all get $500 off if they buy.
And I have no problems with that.
No.
Matter of fact, I want to see as many people get $500 off as I can.
Absolutely.
Because then they're going to be like, hey, this guy named Chad has this awesome show that gives away tips that just saved me $500, right?
Absolutely.
Which, by the way, if that ever happens, reach out to me because I'd be glad to take a thank you bread service over at Sanaa or something like that, Ron.
Dole Whip. I'll work for Dole Whip.
Yeah. 3 weeks out of the year, I live right next door to Walt Disney World. So I'll be glad to pop over if I'm in town, right? Just saying.
Yes. It's for the record.
Right. And then you want to come into this, and there's a debate here in the community, and it's, should you buy your direct points first or should you buy your resale points first? Assuming you need more than 150 points, you could save a lot of money with that strategy. And there's some reasons why you might want to buy resale first. Ron, why don't you take this one?
Yeah, I am going to say that, and I love taking this one because this was my approach. So the reason I bought resale first, one, entry point. So when I was looking at buying into DVC, there weren't all these outstanding incentives, and it was a few years back now. So resale prices were lower as well. And resale was the best entry point for me in terms of cost, number one. But even beyond that, which really put kind of the icing on the cake for me was once you become a member, for everybody out there that's listening that are not members, which is the target audience of the show, if you're not aware, once you become a member and you're a member for over a year, then you have access to usually better incentives than the new members have.
Points, what you're going to say.
So with that being said, you become a member through resale because whether you buy direct or buy resale, you still are a member in the world of DVC's eyes. So it doesn't matter how you get in. Once you reach that 1 year point, then you can be eligible for those existing member discounts or tiered discounts. So that's number one. Number two, for a lot of people, once you buy resale, you're probably going to, most people want to have a direct contract in order to get those member benefits or what's commonly referred to as the blue card benefits. And if you want to do that, it's a lot easier because Disney has the inventory kind of at their will. And say you are like me and you have an October use year, and when you buy direct, they will generally be able to match your use year, which a lot of people prefer for reasons we can get into. To match your use year is a lot easier than finding that absolutely perfect contract on the resale market that happens to be in your use year. So those are two of the really, really big reasons why resale first made sense for me.
Yeah, so let me recap this as well.
Yeah.
So when you go shopping on the resale market, you could pick any one of the 8 use years that are out there. Like you could find a smoking deal at any use year that reasonably works for your family, and the world is your oyster. You can just go for the sweetest deal you can find. Once you buy direct, you're pretty much going to want to lock yourself into matching the same use year to make the points easier to combine at the 7-month mark. And so then now I've already picked a use year, and now I got to go back out to the resale market, and now I got to find a February use year in my case, and I got to look for a great deal in February, and I have to ignore the great deal in all of the 7 other use years. So that's one big benefit of buying resale first. Then we'll get into this next one is, yes, after you're a member for a year, and that's a relatively new thing. You used to just be able to close on your resale, instantly get member pricing. Now they put a year cooldown in there, so you can't quite do that anymore. But once you've been a member for a year, you'll get about $5 off per point from buying direct. Now, let's talk about that, because the reasons that you want to buy direct for resale is, like, A, I can give you that $500 that we just talked about from Dream It Forward in that program. But B, if you wait a year from now, this thing goes up $5 to $7 every 6 months. So by the time you've waited that year, the prices have went up over $10 while you're saving 5.
Right.
So you really got to weigh out what it is that you really want first. And the other reason why I can think of that why you might want to buy resale first is you might want to just try the waters, because you could buy this product, use it for a year or two and go, this isn't for me. And then you've bought low at resale and you're going to sell at resale. Whereas if you buy direct first, you buy high and then you're always going to sell at resale market value.
Right.
Right. So there's this gap here that you're going to be on the hook for. Over time, that gap will close itself.
Correct.
Right. But if you really want to be fiscally conservative, buy resale first. If it works out, buy direct. If you know you're a hardcore Disney fan and you're coming every year, you're in for at least 7-8 years, you can buy direct and use our $500 trick and then come back in and go from there. I think it's a pretty valid strategy as well. Right?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely valid points to going either way. And I know I see point number 6 here, reasons to buy direct before resale, because there's a point counterpoint no matter which way you go. So you can't go wrong either way. It's what's best for you and your family.
And then the other main point here that I would tell you if you're considering buying DVC is the optimal use of your points is always staying in a DVC Deluxe resort through booking on your points. Yes, if you buy direct, you can go for cruises and ABDs and all of this other hotel rooms in Japan and all across the planet, right? Or you can go to concierge collections and they make it sound like it's all of this stuff. But at the end of the day, they're only giving you the average dues price in cash. So it's like they're taking the points that you bought and they're keeping them and they're only giving you back the dues to come back in and purchase towards something else. Which is coming out to about $841 per point right now. And you could rent those points out and get $12, $14 through our sponsors, no problems, or find a renter privately through your own, get $20, $25 a point all day long, Ron.
All day.
Because there's so many people that want to come out there and bring their family to see the mouse. And your points are worth what Disney charges in the $30 to $35 range. So by you selling them for $20 to $25, they're getting 33% off and they're getting a smoking deal. You're getting a good deal compared to what Disney would have gave you on this. And it really is truly kind of a win-win-win. But when you give those points back to Disney, you're essentially losing the value that you paid for the points.
Yeah, absolutely. And any seasoned, even maybe not so seasoned, but anybody who's been around DVC for more than a minute has heard the term, don't use your points for anything other than rooms. If you are contemplating trying to do that, there are ways to do that through our sponsors. Obviously, there are programs that are available currently that you can not take as much of a hit on the value of your points and still potentially be able to swap them out for other types of adventures. But don't just do it through Disney. You're going to take
Disney is the easy button, but you're going to get the least bang for your buck there. But it will be easy. Okay?
Unless money means nothing to you, then do it. Do what you want.
But then you're probably not even listening to our show. You're just jumping in.
Why would you listen to a couple of clowns on the internet?
Yeah, that's it, right? That's it, right? So, okay, those were, and we just covered this in episode 254. So the 7 things you must know before buying direct. And just to highlight some of these, we're going to recommend that you look at these breakpoints here and round up. So I'll let you go back and listen to that whole episode. But if this is the new member incentives right now for Disneyland Tower, and if you were looking at this and you were saying, well, we could probably use 187 points at Disneyland Tower. That's about right. We would tell you round up to this 200, walk away with 210 on this current incentive. Their current incentives are doing this crazy. If you buy this amount of points, we'll give you this amount of points for free. You'll total this amount, but then there's also this cash off incentive. And you can see this really great $1,000 here that drops down to nothing, but the points ramp up the more you buy. So our advice is cut the smoke and mirrors, get this down to a price per point, because you're going to want to go shopping on the resale market to figure out, hey, what would my points sell for if I want to sell them in 3 years?
Right.
Or if I'm going to just buy a resale, let's say I wanted to buy a resale Grand Flow right now, what would I be paying per point for that? Because that's how that market is structured. And then to come back in and go, hey, this is what Direct is charging.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing, too, by doing both of these shows, Chad, for anybody who's contemplating who is not currently a member, you have a comparison. So kind of what I touched on earlier about the different incentives that are available for the existing members versus the new members, you could see real life, live, like real time examples of what's available right now, whether or not you're an existing member and have been for a year, or whether or not you're just looking into it. So you can do your own kind of comparison and research, and that can be a helpful resource or tool for you as well.
Yeah. And that is the key to everything that we teach is we want to be the people that are sparking the conversations, that are leading you to ask the better questions to your Disney Direct guide, to ask the better questions when you come into the community so that you're asking the right questions to get the answers that help you make a great decision. Because we don't have a dog in this fight, right?
No.
We're here to host a conversation and to help you make an informed decision about what's best for your family, whether it's Disneyland Tower,
right,
over here at the Grand Floridian and or any of the other resorts.
Riviera, right.
Yeah.
Right, Chad, and if I could just say I learned at a very young age, I had a teacher, a very influential teacher in my life said, and I still have it to this day in my 50s, is truly, the only dumb question is the one that you have and you don't ask. So just ask.
And we would tell you as well, join our Facebook community.
Yes.
It's a great place to ask questions. We have a 0 tolerance for snark there. So it is the thumper rule. If you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all.
Yeah.
And our moderators will boot you out of that group so fast, it will not be funny.
If you're shy, just do a search on our Facebook group page, because a lot of the questions you might have, if you put a search on that page, they might have been answered already. You can ease yourself into getting more involved with the group.
Yeah. But even then, we encourage everybody to ask questions, even if we have answered it 50 times today. Okay.
Which we do sometimes.
Want to help people, and we're there to serve people.
Absolutely.
That's kind of it. So Ron, we're now looking at the Grand Flow incentives here, and it's the same story here, 5, 10, 20, 15, and the incentives are a
little bit more attractive, aren't they, Chad? A little bit.
They're a little bit more attractive here at the Grand Flow. I mean, if I'm buying at 200 points, I'm down to 197, to where if I come back in and compare 200 points at Disneyland Tower, it's at 217.
That's substantial.
That's like almost 10% more, right?
Yep.
Now you're getting at least 10% more life at the Disneyland Tower because you've got the whole 50 years.
Yep.
Versus the 40 something left at Grand Flow. So
valid point
there as well. But yeah, check out the incentives, and we're calling these like value points, right? Or value tiers.
Tiers, yes.
What we talked about in the other show is never come back in and try to buy like 187. You might as well just commit to buying the 200 and getting the 210. It's going to work out for your deal. And there's a spot in that show you can go back in and play it back, where we talk about the cast member who told us his rule, his best advice that he's given, and is the absolute best advice I've ever heard on DVC, is buy as many points as you can reasonably afford, because when you get ready to buy the next set, they're going to be way more expensive. The price goes up, even though the years on it goes down. It's the weirdest thing in DVC. And you see that over on the resale market as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's it. Grand Flow is still our fire sale that's going on now. And then if we look at Riviera and use that 200-point benchmark here, we're at 271. Not quite as good as the Grand Flow here, but it's still looking pretty decent.
Yeah, and to your point, Chad, this is the reason why research and analysis is so important, because as these incentives change over time, the smoke and mirrors term that Chad used, it's not that they're doing anything wrong. They're just making it look a little different, because different terminologies resonate differently with other people. So they're still giving you deals. It's just something that might look a little better than something else may not be when you really start putting the nuts and bolts to it. So do the research.
In somebody's head, buying 200 points and getting 10 free might just like excite them and kick off their "this is a better value" meter, right?
Right.
And that buyer may buy, right? Whereas somebody like me is going to look at this and go, no. Let's just get this down to the nuts and bolts, and let's get down to brass tacks on it.
We will never get into a show about human psychology, because no one wins. No one wins.
The reality of that is people respond differently. We all see the world a little differently.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying one way is right or wrong. I'm just going to say, hey, this is the way the resale market works. Sooner or later, you will be looking at resale. You might as well start with that with your direct purchase.
Yeah, and I don't think we touched on it, Chad. The average new member who may not know this, on average, a contract is held only 7 to 8 years. So when we say resale market and the potential to sell, it's not because we're just thinking you're not going to like it. People love it, but lives change. Situations change. So
death, divorce, disability. Those are things you never plan
kids grow
on,
up. Yeah.
right? Your kids grow up and they don't want to come to Disney anymore.
Right.
Like you've got a period there from the late teens all the way up until like the 30s when they have kids where they may not want to come to Disney with you.
Right.
But as soon as they have kids, they want grandma and grandpa going to Disney and picking up that tab. Right. So
yeah. And then that's when you have to point out the fact that they have great golf courses and things like that for like my boys in their 30s.
Yeah. And water parks and everything else. So
not all about theme parks.
Yeah. There's always something here that's fun. And then once they hit 21, well, that opens up a whole new world of coming back in and adventures to come in and check out and here at Disney, because that opens up a whole new world.
Yeah. Something about around the world, but we don't advocate for that.
Yep. And then here at Aulani, we're still covering this. What is it? 12, 13 years later after this resort opened up. It's still on the new member incentive list. They're still selling inventory here. But if we look, our 200 points here got down to 190.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit of a decent sale going on Aulani, a little bit of extra love in the incentive department here.
Yeah.
So I believe the free points stay the same. It's just the cash off is getting a little bit sweeter here.
Yeah.
But look at this jump here from 125 to 150.
Huge.
Yeah. And 150 is the magic number that you're going to want to buy when you're new to unlock all the discounts, perks, and benefits as well. So you're going to spend this extra $3,000 to go from here to here. I would say within 2 to 3 years, if you're buying annual passes at Walt Disney World, which you might not be if you're buying Aulani, but if you were to, you would come back in on a family of 4 and close that gap pretty quick.
Merchant discounts could close that quite considerably as well.
Well, yeah, I have been shopping with you and your family on opening day of the 50th. Ron. So y'all look like Pretty Woman walking out that theme park, right? With all your 50th swag. So you definitely saved some serious coin that day, buddy.
I don't care if it's 91 degrees. I'm wearing this Letterman's jacket. Good stuff, man.
Yep. But if you guys have questions, comments, be sure to put them down below. We will try to come back in and respond to them. If you do this on Facebook, I can almost guarantee you somebody will respond. On YouTube, we're a little bit slower, but that's because our whole moderator community is over looking at the Facebook posts there as well and responding to everything there. So thank you for tuning in, everybody. Hopefully you found something in today's show that'll help you out there and plan something magical for your family. And I'd like to do a huge shout out of thanks to DVC Resale Market, DVC Rental Store, and Monera Financial for their continued support. And also a huge shout out of thanks to our Patreon community as well. Y'all have got some great bonus posts coming up there, which is not something that we normally do a lot of here. I'm going to be honest, because we try to do about 2 to 3 shows a week between the traditional podcast, the Community Hall live show, and DVC newscasts. So there's just not a lot of room to create exclusive bonus content, but we do have a couple of those coming up. And I believe Ron will be coming back in for one here pretty soon as well. So you don't know about that, Ron, but
I didn't know about that yet, but hey.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go.
You'll definitely be doing it. So, okay. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a great night, and we will talk to you next time.
Ladies and gentlemen, please watch your head and step as you exit, and take small children by the hand.
Aw, chill up, Dad. You know I'll come back. With DVC.
My DVC Points is an unofficial Disney-inspired podcast created by fans of Disney Vacation Club. The thoughts expressed in this podcast are personal opinions and personal experiences. My DVC Points is not affiliated with Disney Vacation Club, the Walt Disney Companies, or any subsidiaries. We encourage listeners to contact their DVC guide or member services for official DVC policies.